should start being live right now. So let me just do a little intro. So hey guys, Brian here. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the channel. And as you guys could see, we have two of the main people from the team of RickMortyDoxx. So if you guys could just introduce yourselves, let everyone know who you guys are.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'll go first. My name's Kyle. I'm in charge of business development and public relations with our token. I was the last member brought on. I was brought on after some pretty detailed conversations with the devs, and I believe there's a lot that I can bring to this project. I'm the person that talks with everyday people. If there's anything that needs to be discussed in terms of marketing or relations or just general investment, that's who gets steered in my direction. And I'm very, very excited to be here. Everybody on the team has been extremely accepting, and with our team, everybody tends to listen to everyone's opinion, which is fantastic. So that's me in a nutshell. Doc?
Hi, I'm Dr. Ellis Jerusalem, and I'm a licensed psychologist in the state of Michigan, but I also have postdoctoral training in data science. And I've been in crypto since 2017, though I had some friends who were in a few things like, the Ethereum presale. And I remember being aware of the Bitcoin white paper not long after it came out. I probably would have gotten in crypto heavily much earlier, but I read a piece by Charlie Strauss around 2013 that had some rather exaggerated environmental footprint numbers for Bitcoin. So that kind of curtailed that. And then sort of did my own math and decided to jump in 2017.
That's when I got in, but you seem a lot smarter than I am. So guys, tell me about your project and why did you guys make it?
So I think I'll start with that one. So the project comes out of a rug pull, actually. So there was a token, it was Rick and Morty, and it pumped, and a whole bunch of influencers, and people with hundreds of thousands of followers were shilling it and get in this, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people did. And then it basically rugged and, imploded like so many tokens do when they rug or exit scam. And a number of us, there's probably about a dozen that were in some conversations, like, hey, can we rehab this thing? Well, if these idiots can do a token, we can, kind of that type of take. And so we decided, not everybody got together in the same project. I think there was actually another project that came out of it, very different direction. But we got together and we decided that we were going to rehabilitate the community, that is try to offset some of the damage that's been done by other people completely unrelated to us. We were just involved in the project too as holders, not marketers, not on the team, anything like that. And so we relaunched. And initially we were calling the token RickMortyDoxxed, not because we're trying to do a Rick and Morty token, but because it's an homage to the rug pull that had occurred. And we segregated about 20% of tokens for the rug relief of that particular rug. But we're not just a second shot at a meme token. What we've really been doing is we've been building a roadmap for some very powerful utility. And until basically today, most of that has been under wraps. Now, still there's a few pieces under wraps currently, but we now have a white paper up, which I highly encourage people to read. Even if you never hold this token, I highly encourage you to read this white paper if you're ever in any ERC or BSC tokens. That said, going forward, we really want to put the ruggers out of business as much as possible. And so that's kind of the ethos of the token. And I think Kyle could speak a bit more to some of the more recent movement and development in this particular project.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I just want to kind of start off by saying that most anybody that's been in crypto for, oh my goodness, you could be in it for a week, you could be in it for years. You've probably been rugged, unfortunately. It's
yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that happens. I want you to kind of think about my last sentence. It's one of those things that just happens. And it's accepted, but it probably shouldn't. That's the reality. We don't want to have a scenario. We don't want to have a space where people are being rugged and it just becomes no problem. That's the way it is. Move on to the next one. Because frankly, there's people that lose tens of thousands of dollars, and those tens of thousands of dollars less money they work for very, very hard.
Mhm.
For some people, that's a lot of money. For other people, it's not, and we understand that. But there's been some recent rugs, and I probably won't mention them by name. I can say a couple that I was rugged on. One in particular was very painful, was Kong City. That's the only one I'm going to mention. But I think that got a lot of us, and that kind of changed my vision. I was actually on a vacation with my family when it happened, and it killed the vacation. I know we were talking about balancing work life and not earlier,
Yeah.
and that my wife wanted to kill me. But anyways, it's something that, right now is currently, I don't want to say accepted, but you know what, I am going to say accepted. But it's something that shouldn't be, in my opinion, and in our opinion, and in the team's opinion. We need to make sure that at the very least that people have a little bit of knowledge about what they're getting into before they get into it, because this is people's money, and people in the space, they know how hard it is to make the money, and it's something we're trying to, I don't want to say eradicate, but at least lessen at this point.
So how do you guys plan to like eradicate rug pulls? Because like I've been rugged. It, like you said, it hurts because not only are you paying gas fees, and then you expect things to 2x, 3x, 100x, which obviously coins could do. So like, what's the plan for you guys? Like I first saw the big thing that, I want to be honest, I didn't want to do a video on you guys the first time because of the first coin that rugged. I was like, I don't know, because like there's a lot of other coins that rugged afterwards with similar names. But then when people told me that you guys are like fully doxxed and the team is who you are, and that's what led me to make that first video on you guys. So again, the biggest thing that I liked when I saw you guys was that rug pull relief fund. So can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be periodically offering some degree of relief to people who've been rugged. So for example, and I'm probably going to say the title wrong, but Zuki Inu just
Yeah,
rugged,
that was
and like, I mean,
huge.
that pulled millions out of people's wallets. And, we're talking to the team about being able to do something for them. And it wouldn't be trivial. I'm not talking about just dusting people's wallets with 30 cents and going, spending $4 on gas to send them 30 cents just to
Yeah.
increase holders or some sort of scammy thing like that. We're talking about significant relief. And, we're toying with different ideas of how we might do that. Maybe, 100 out of the top 1,000 randomly chosen, that kind of thing. But there's ways to do this. And part of this is tied into the utility. So you can't just, well, I mean, I guess you can. You can just print a token that has a name and does nothing else. I mean, there are some out there. There are quite a few, actually. But if you really want to build a project, you're not just doing a pump and dump with more steps, or you're not just doing gambling with more complexity. You need to have utility. And so part of our utility is we're going to reduce rugs. In fact, if you read some of the forensic reports about recent years in crypto, the most recent periods we have data for, 99% of major fraud, 99%, 99 out of 100 major fraud was exit scams. So either rug pulls or other forms of exit scams. Not the people DMing you for your seed phrase, not the I'm from MetaMask support scam. Rug pulls and exit scams, 99% of major fraud. And fraud itself is a much bigger concern than hacks, either centralized or individual. They account for most of the losses in the last 3 years is fraud. And so people are some people are very savvy about their security. They have all these different security layers, but the security is only as good as what you do. And if somebody can entice you into a rug, you're going to very safely transfer that money to somebody else who's going to run away with it.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. I always feel some sort of way. And like a lot of people on the channel are also saying like, yeah, people just think it's a part of crypto and it really shouldn't be. So
it doesn't need to be. So
it
in the
definitely
white paper, which we released today, one of the things we do is we kind of analyze how most rugs happen. And so there's a couple different variations. In the old days, you just pull the liquidity tokens, right? So I create a pair on, maybe Uniswap, maybe Pancake, maybe Sushi, and everyone puts their money in. I just pull the tokens and run. That's the classic one.
doesn't.
Well, things got a little more complicated with Unicrypt and some other options out there like DX sale for locking tokens. So it's like, okay, I can't just pull the tokens. Well, now I can mint and dump on you. So an excellent example this last summer, think it was summer or fall, but was Core, Kore, like rapidly flew up in value. I think it was even maybe listed on Binance or a couple of major exchanges like within days. And then the person minted a billion. It had 10,000 supply, and they minted a billion. So it was a billion and 10,000, and they just dumped hundreds and hundreds of millions on the liquidity pool and drained it. So even though you can have the tokens locked if you keep minting, well, okay, maybe now something like Token Sniffer catches minting. But if I'm just a sophisticated scammer, and these scammers are getting more and more sophisticated every day, I just have a bunch of wallets, and I can just easily automate 20 wallets all at 2% dumping on you as I can automate one wallet dumping on you. And so that won't be caught by Token Sniffer. That's not going to be caught by these things. That's not a technical fix. What you really need in these instances is not a technical solution, but a hybrid human technical solution. And so that's what we talk about. And because this is such a big aspect of fraud, 99% of it, we think we can take a big bite out of it. And that's our utility. It's not just a feel-good coin. It's not even just relief. It's cutting off the problem at its source.
Yeah. So there is a question here in the chat. I'm gonna pin it right here. What are your thoughts concerning one of the current RMD devs working on and releasing another project when clearly RMD needs all the attention it could get to encourage growth and boost the price? I didn't even know.
They have something more specific? I mean,
yeah. I need something a little bit more specific than that, guys. Like who, what project? Because you guys will be able to ask questions as long as there's specific questions for these guys here. Because FUD's not really a good thing too, and just speculative questions is not going to work here, guys.
Yeah, I mean, just ask a straightforward question. I'd need more details.
Exactly.
I mean, what I would say is I know some people have other commitments or other involvements. So, I mean, for example, I hold a fairly large bag of another project, but I'm fairly minimally involved with it at this point. But I'm still involved because, I put a lot of time and effort into it. That said, it's not like eating, 20 hours my week or anything.
Exactly.
I suspect probably the same is true for other members that, they're actually, I'm sure it's true. We're holding other tokens as well. But if you're talking about like a full stack dev eating all your time, probably not a good idea. And I guess I need more specific information about who they're talking about or what the situation is.
Yeah, no, we'll have to get more information before we answer that. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear that everybody holds a whole different bag of something else. Like Doc holds different things. I do. I mean, the diversification is great. We all hold different projects, but in terms of answering that question accurately, we would need a little bit more information, I think.
And can you guys go more into Zion? Because I was reading on that, and that looks super interesting to me.
So really, you could think of Zion as 3 or 4 parts. And so, one of the things we like to say is, not just tokens, teams. And so one of the problems with rug pull prevention now is there's some fairly decent technical fixes for the token. Right, you can see in the contract if there's a minting function still active. You can see if the contract is renounced or what functions are still available if it's not renounced. Those are technical, and if you understand Solidity or you have a pretty good catch most product like Token Sniffer or some of these other things, it's gonna flag some of these things for you so you can make an informed decision about the token. But it doesn't tell you anything about the team. Yeah. And so not just tokens, teams. It's really teams that build these things. It's teams that create these things, and it's teams that scam you.
Yeah, it's always like the same.
It's not a contract that scams you. Even if it is a contract that scams you, a bug is a rug, right? If a team is consistently creating bad contracts that rip people off, whether they mean to or not, they're rugging people. A bug is a rug. So at the end of the day, it's not really the contract, it's the team. That's the first part. And so one of the ways we're going to address that is through doxing. Now, we understand that the world is a complex place. And, having your information on the internet can be dangerous, especially depending on, the municipality you might be in. There are some places where the wealth differentials are much higher. And so if people think you have $1 million, they might literally burn your house to the ground to get it. And so being fully doxed is not necessarily an option or a safe option for everyone. Also, some people might be judged based on their appearance or their gender or other things. They go, oh, I'm not going to do a token with that, even though they're a badass coder. And so being fully doxed can be a problem there too. But what if we have a trusted intermediary where we can go, yes, they doxed us. We verified as best we can, ID, location, things like that. We have a very good idea of where they're at. And provided they're doing good stuff, no one else is going to know. But if they do, then we release this information and very quickly people know who they are and where they're at. That kind of intermediary provides a layer of trust, but it also avoids the heavy-handed tactics that'll probably come from regulatory space if we don't fix this ourselves.
Well,
That's just the first part.
That. I like that.
And it, like, to kind of follow up on that, like we've had a lot of questions, like your question, like carbon copy, we've had, I don't know, probably a couple thousand times in the past couple of days. So, and people will add to it and say, what happens if you guys go through a token, you do your research, and then it still gets rugged? And I was like, yeah, that's a fantastic question. It's very fair. But what we're trying to do is just provide a layer of education so that people can look at our research and still make their decision. Because I mean, in the end, no matter what, it's up to the investor in the end. So we're just trying to provide a layer of comfortability for people so that they can look at that and say, wow, these guys did a little bit of research. They have their opinion, and I wouldn't even say opinion. We're just providing research. And then the people can look at that and say, I'm going to make an investment or I'm not. Because to be honest with you, there's going to be some people that look at a coin, let's say, for example, that just crashed 200%, and they're going to say, wow, now's the time to get in. Like, yeah. maybe not exactly what I would do, but, like, so it's really hard to convince someone to do something, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to convince. We're just trying to provide an extra layer of comfortability so that people know essentially what they're getting into.
So will this also be like some sort of like auditing as well, or just because from what I understand?
It's to some degree an audit, but it's not an audit of the contract.
Yeah.
It's an audit of the team.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of software. There's software that will automatically audit contracts and give you some opinions. Now, they're not perfect. If you've read my white paper, I showed an example where it's exactly the opposite of the real world. So, I mean, they're not perfect. They're a catch most or maybe catch many. It's not, these automated things that scale, they're never perfect. But there are ways to do that. And certainly a good coder is going to be able to audit. You can get a Certec, you can get these other things. People are going to audit in a way that they're going to understand the contract. But it doesn't tell you anything about the motives of the team, their location, or their accountability. And related to that, our second principle is not just influence, accountability. And partially that's the teams. If you build a big token, you have a lot of influence. But even more so, and I'm going to be blunt, it's the influencers. Most of the influencers in this space, they're running networks that are kind of atrocious.
It's true.
They don't want to get paid in the token. They're going to tell you at 100x's. If they really believe that, they want to get paid in the token. No, they want to get paid in USDT or Ethereum or BNB or whatever. 100x, guaranteed gem, blah, blah, blah. They're not buying it. And they just sell rug after rug after rug to their followers or to whomever. And they have no accountability for it. If I went to a financial advisor and half the time, my money just caught on fire spontaneously, I probably wouldn't go back. If General Motors made a car that caught on fire 20% of the time, they'd be out of business. But for some reason in crypto Twitter, you can shill one rug and 5 seconds later, copy paste the same thing and just replace the contract address and shill the next one. And so what we need is not just influence, we need accountability. And if you go on a site like Lunar Crush is a good example, right? It's going to give a pretty good, accurate information about influence, the power of their influence. It won't tell you a damn thing about whether their influence is being used for good. It's flat. It just tells you how much reach they have. It doesn't tell you what you're doing with it. And so what we need, and this is the second part of Zion, is a qualitative ranking that tells you how good these people are. So I come from a background in healthcare. And in healthcare, one of the metrics that's used with hospitals is discharges. So if you go to the hospital and you have a serious condition and you get discharged, you have to come back within a month unexpectedly.
You don't get paid.
That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Not a planned visit, but an emergency readmit. And so some insurance companies and some payers, they're shifting from a fee for service, okay, I did the thing, to a fee for value. And in this fee for value model, you don't get paid when they come back. You got to fix what you screwed up the first time. Sometimes if you have a good mechanic, you go back, they fix what they screwed up. They don't charge you for it. Well, what if promoters are like that? What if we had a database of how well tokens did 30 days after they started promoting them? I bet you most of these tokens that are promoted are not higher 30 days later. That's my safe bet. And what if we saw scores like that? This guy, 95 out of 100 he promotes are lower 30 days later. Well, there's this other guy who takes the time to do the due diligence. This other woman, and she drills down. She goes, "I'm not going to promote that token, even though you're going to pay me. I don't want my name associated with it." And she only has maybe, let's say, a rug, 5 or 6 times out of 100. Well, now this additional piece of information allows people to do their own research. It's not telling you never buy or not or never sell or anything like that. It's giving you additional relevant data to do your own research. And right now, all the data is flat. I can give you a pretty good answer and tell you how influential somebody is, but I can't give you a good answer with the existing tools of telling you whether their influence means anything, whether their picks are any good.
And I actually like that a lot because obviously I'm in that space, and then I do get put into a lot of emails that actually have other bigger, way bigger influencers than I do. And for some reason they don't like CC teams, but like singularly, and I see it in a forwarded message on how much these people ask for and how much they say that one video from them could like 10x or whatever. And I'm just like, holy shit. Like they just really just want to get paid off this, and that's it. And they're
Right.
like,
There's no accountability.
zero.
And so I'll tell you, I actually respect you more because you were unwilling to do some stuff with us out of the gate than if you just did it out of the gate.
because I'm not
Because I
gonna
know that,
lie.
like, you care, because you care about your reputation. If you're just like, yeah, sure, fine. So I actually kind of, the fact that you're like, I don't know, I like that. I mean, I don't like it, but I love it. Does that make sense?
I'm not gonna lie, there's like one or two when I first started out, I was like, okay, cool, I'll do it. And then they rugged like 4 or 5 days later, and like it melted my heart knowing that even though I had like 2,000 subs at the time, I was like, wow, it's my stream, I could curse. I fucked up. Like, and I hated the feeling. So I really try to vet it out, but I'm not always gonna get it right. Cause like you said, like there's one that I did a video on, like Charizard. They're gone now. And then made multiple videos. They consistently went up. They were fully audited. They started getting listed everywhere. Then all of a sudden, they rugged a few months later. And then that's something where I personally want to know, like, how could you guys help figure out why something like that would happen, where it wasn't necessarily liquidity, but I think there was something in the contract where later they were just able to pull some sort of, I think it was just a bunch of different wallets where they spread out tokens to, like you were talking about, and then they just slowly started taking everything out. Like,
So there are some tools, or even some existing tools to look at this. They're a little more forensic in terms of chain analysis, but the kind of the easy version of the data science, I think Token Sniffer now has the ability to just look at links, and so you can see wallet segregation and wallet contact. And so, for example, if you pull up, if you pull up Suzuki Inu, like you see this giant standalone bubble of networked wallets. It's totally different than almost any other recent tokens. Any token that's stable, go look at their even ones that have like a big dev wallet or something. They're still connected in different ways. You can just look at this image and go, this looks different. And that kind of graph, network graph visualization is something that's been done in data science for a while, but I'm starting to see it accessible to the average person. So Token Sniffer has a very basic version of it. But there's also much more sophisticated forensic chain analysis. The catch is most people don't know how to do this stuff. And even if they do, most of these things, they're more obvious after the fact. They're good for tracking down people. They're more like the detective after the crime has been committed. They don't really help you with a decision or an analysis prior to an entry point.
so I know you already went over like why you kept the name for this token. Why wouldn't you switch it up eventually to something else where it's not like associated with a previous rug? Because obviously not everyone's gonna do their own DD and research and figure out that you guys are actually who you are and you're not the team that rugged.
So we're a bit moving in that direction already. We're a little more, kind of coming across as RMDoxxed, but we're probably always going to keep the RM.
Okay.
And that's a reminder because everybody on this team, at least to some degree, got rugged. And the point is, we're smart people. We're not unsophisticated investors. Most of us are highly quantitatively skilled. it can happen to anybody. And so we want a reminder that this isn't just some yokel. It isn't just, oh, lesson learned, oh, shucks, I'll be better for it. That this is a systematic manipulation of metrics. It's a systematic manipulation of behavior, and it's systematically designed to commit large-scale repetitive fraud. And that's what we want to fight. And we don't ever want to forget that. And so, you know, we'll probably get away from Rick and Morty, even though we love the cartoon show. You know, we're not trying to make a cartoon show. That was, it's basically a kind of, you know, kind of a parody of what got us into this. But we're going to build real utility. And it is my belief that in the near future, if you go to Dex Tools or a similar kind of application, and their little drop down where you can see their CoinGecko and their coin market cap and maybe lock liquidity, you can just click and go, have these people doxed to the Doxxed Alliance. And if they have, you know, you have a rating. If they have, you know, doesn't mean they're bad if they haven't, but it's just one more piece of information with which holders can make an informed choice about whether they want to continue to hold.
That would be huge. So because you just went into the Doxxed Alliance, like it says on your website that RMDoxx is a part of the Doxxed Alliance platform. Like who else is a part of it?
So, you know, I said there's kind of three parts to you know, the Zion utility. And then there's also sort of a fourth piece, which really isn't the utility, it's the alliance. And that's, you know, that's not just us, that's an alliance. Because what's really at work here is a pervasive culture problem. And that's not going to be changed by one person, it's not going to be changed by one team. It's not going to be changed by even a couple of utilities. And so we want to partner with tokens that are willing to be doxed, that are willing to kind of sign on to this ethos so that we can start building an economy of scale. So that when an influencer kind of does people wrong, they have not just one token going, hey guys, that was crap. Not just the people got screwed over, but maybe, let's say, 1,000 people going, are you going to set this right? When you know, somebody who's an influencer asks for $1,000 to make a video, they make the video and they go, oh bro, you told me 10,000, which they didn't. And they try to extort a new team for $10,000. Well, they're going to report that to us. And so now we're going to have a database of people who generally act in good faith and people who generally don't. It's sort of like the Better Business Bureau of crypto. And so not just people who are investing in tokens or holding tokens, but even teams themselves can make more informed choices about influencers who are basically legitimate or who are going to just keep, you know, doing, you know, up costing them until they're out of money.
I just want to chime in about the influencer, because you are an influencer, and you're probably very.
I don't believe it. Oh, no, that's always going to be weird to me.
You're probably like, we had a question quite a few times in the past couple of days. I got DM'd it a couple times from people asking like, hey, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to blacklist influencers? Like, well, you're only going to have so many left. And I was like, no, that's not at all what we're trying to do. And I think I speak for the whole team when I say we're not trying to blacklist anybody. We're trying to make the people do the right decision from the beginning. We're trying to make people better. It's not a matter of blacklisting people. If, like Doc said, you happen to do 95% of videos that fail, then that's really not on us. That's more us just letting people know what's happening out there. So just a very common question, and I just wanted to get ahead of it before it gets asked.
So how do you vet out which influencers you go for?
So there's a couple ways of doing that. Do you want to take it, Doc?
No, you go.
Well, I mean, we talked about this earlier as well, too. Like, it's there's obviously going to be like 3 tiers to it. And what I mean by that is there would be the team. We would identify some influencers right off the bat. There would be coins approaching us asking about influencers. And then probably the most important thing is there'd be a community. This is going to have to be community driven in the end. So if someone from the community, whether it's Twitter Spaces or someone on our Telegram, asks us, really it should be something that we listen to. So more importantly than the first two, definitely the third one. We have to listen to the people out there that ask us to do this. Yeah, sorry, Doc, go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. The one piece that we haven't talked about is, you know, I said there's 3 pieces to Zion. We talked pretty much about 2 of them, which are pretty straightforward. The third piece is still a bit under wraps. And I've actually filed a provisional patent application in the United States based on it. And what we were asking ourselves, because in this process of doxing, I don't want to be doxed, not because I have things to hide. I actually have a state issued license. You can go look me up, all this stuff. One of the other team members is an attorney, has a state issued license from Florida. Like it's not about not being out there. Obviously, I'm fairly comfortable talking to a lot of people virtually, but it's let me rewind the clock a second. There used to be a public sphere and a private sphere. And because of technology the way it was, they were pretty separate. So if I had a conversation with you in my home or maybe a pub or something, that's as far as it went. But now the public sphere has come in through social media, through YouTube, through Zoom calls, through Facebook, through Instagram. And the private sphere has leaked out. Now you know what I'm eating for dinner. Now you know what my kids are up to. And these have merged in a way that I think in some ways is great, but other ways is really disturbing. And so the question we said, like, how do we get the best of both worlds? How can you be doxed and not doxed? Well, it seems like a contradiction, right? You can't be doxed and not doxed. But what if you can? And this is what I think is the initial killer app of the metaverse. In Web 1.0, right, it was sort of a land grab. Lawyers.com, realestate.com.
Mhm.
You wanted to get the best real estate. But even the real estate method wasn't quite right because it was also code. So for example, Amazon doesn't have any really great shopping centers for the most part, but they have knocked out of business almost every shopping center in America, right? So they have a piece of virtual real estate that's far more valuable than the best shopping mall or shopping center in America. So the virtual real estate proved to be much more valuable. Web 2.0 was even more counterintuitive. So if you didn't need to have shopping centers to be the king of retail in Web 1.0, you didn't have to charge people to make billions in Web 2.0, which is really counterintuitive. So Facebook, Instagram, all these products, they basically give themselves away for free, yet make massive revenue. It's very counterintuitive. Well, the killer app there is the app, the application. So in Web 1.0, it's the web browser. That's why we had the Netscape and Internet Explorer wars. And Web 2.0, it's the dedicated application. In Web 3.0, what if you can have a gateway that allows you access to all of these virtual places in a way where you're identified, you're known to a certain degree, you bring a reputation with you, yet you're also masked in a way where you're private and your intimacy is kept for all sorts of reasons. It might just be discretion. It might be because your employer won't like it. It might be because you're in a country where these kind of conversations can get you put in jail. Mm-hmm. How do we have a way where we're both doxed and not doxed? And I think I have a relatively elegant solution to it. And it allows people to have a portal of entry where they can be themselves, not completely without repercussions, but without being heavily damaged in the real world for it. It's going to hurt their online reputation. But it's not so ephemeral that they can just create 10,000 Twitter accounts and spam you with a bot team. It's actually much more intimate than that. And so I think I have a scalable solution, and that's really Zion 3.0. That's this, and it's the gateway to the metaverse, where you have the best of both worlds, doxed and not doxed, intimate and publicly available, reputation that carries forward, but that isn't directly tied to you and maybe your ethnicity or your job or your physical location.
Oh, it's huge. And Web 3.0 is going to be very big, especially with all the metaverse things that are coming out. And if you guys are able to fully come out with that would be such a change for everything.
Do you just out of curiosity, Brian? Do you follow Punk 6529?
No, no, I don't.
I highly recommend you follow them and read some of their tweets. They have these like long tweet storms, and they've really been thinking about the metaverse, I think, longer than just about anybody else. And what they're aware of, and I mean, I've increasingly come to see, is that the metaverse is probably either going to play out Facebook style, where there's one centralized place that has access to your eyeballs, or it's in some way decentralized in a way that preserves, these notions of privacy and freedom, even while allowing for the international or kind of trans reality exploration of these deep spaces that are going to be coming online. And I think that's going to happen within 5 years or less. And almost nobody is thinking about it. And this is something we need to think about because it's going to determine the structure of the social commons for the next 50 years.
And I believe that because I'm probably stuck in that whole, oh, metaverse, this is just gonna be like Ready Player One instead of looking at it way further than just a video game.
That's exactly what I said when we first heard about metaverse. I think I actually said that to you, Doc, that you had to watch Ready Player One.
Sure.
Because it's eerily familiar and actually quite scary. But yeah, I hope it doesn't go down that road that far anyways.
The other thing we wanted to avoid with kind of the Zion 3.0 or the third part of it is we don't want to become China. And what I mean by that is the social credit system.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing we want to be is like some sort of centralized, highly centralized authenticator of how good a person is. It needs to be somewhat democratic, but not gameable. And that's a tricky piece because the more democratic you get, the more gameable it is. And the more centralized it is, well, okay, it's more reliable, but it's now fixed. And so I remember some conversations early on with Kyle like that. I mean, I think that'd be a personal nightmare for Kyle is, if we somehow ended up being, the crypto version of the Chinese social credit system. We don't want to be that. But we also want accountability to be a real thing, not just something trivial, not just something that's given lip service, but where there's actual, that your actions have consequences. Maybe not permanent and maybe not just one action in a vacuum. That's the other, the other thing is on internet spaces, you can say one wrong thing and you get swarmed. Like, how do we have some way to kind of gauge a person's character when they're a virtual person or it's a virtual aspect of their identity? Now, in the olden times, when Bob would get really drunk and say something stupid, most of the time Bob was a good guy. You could let him off the hook. Or, maybe Ralph would get drunk and do stupid stuff, but Ralph is a jerk all the time. You had so much experience with them just day to day, you knew their character. But that's not true online. We form really horrible and wonderful images of these strangers on the internet. So how do we make that more grounded, where we get some sort of real consensus sense of what their self is like in a way that does justice to their character?
And that's the hardest thing too, because of course the Instagrams, the Facebooks, YouTube, everything is a highlight reel of the high points of what you're doing. So how, like, what your guys are trying to do is game changing, where you're trying to figure out, like you're saying, is someone a good person? Is someone a good influencer? Is the team good? But like you were saying, that's the hard part, because like it all comes from experience, like you're saying, like that whole analogy that you just did, like, someone's good, but he might do something stupid every now and then when he's drunk. But the other guy is a jerk all the time, so don't expect him to not be an ass when he's drunk too. So that's such a... it's really like making my brain work. And I really like what you're doing with it, but it just... I'm just trying to figure out how will they dox you? Like, I'm trying to figure out the whole research that's going to go behind everybody. Like, I personally would just, I'm an open book. You could figure out everything about me easily, but like we talked about before, not everyone's going to be down with doing that, right? So what would be the criteria for like the minimal for you guys to say like someone's, I guess, good for your, for your tokens and all that for the teams?
Well, I think for teams, it's different.
Sense.
Yeah, if we're kind of assessing a team, what we really want to know minimally is, some sort of real identification, passport, government ID, that kind of thing, some sort of real location, that it's them, in real time, not, a photo from 5 years ago and somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the team. And that's a little different than what we're talking about at the third phase of Zion. Third phase of Zion is opt-in. Mm-hmm. It's not, there are going to be degrees of opt-in, but like, this is something that people choose, not something that we're going to mandate. And I think the level of accountability needs to be higher for teams, because they could be potentially handling, I mean, just look at our token, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in terms of market cap, we're not that big or anything. But we pumped up to 60 million. 60 million is a lot of dollars. And if you're going to be involved in a token that's, I mean, we're a lot less than that now, right? But it's still millions of dollars. You wouldn't just walk into the street and just give some random person millions of dollars, go do the best you can with this. So the level of accountability, I think, does need to be higher. But again, it's opt-in. They don't want to do it. They don't have to. But what we think is going to happen is there's going to be a consensus for some level of doxing. even if it's not fully doxed, this is who I am and where I live and all that. It might just be they dox to a trusted third party like us, and we go, yes, if anything happens, we know who they are, we know where they're at. And if nothing happens, that never comes out. But if it does, then it's like, all right, it's these guys who live here.
I'm just looking at your chart too. Yeah, you guys are trading sideways for the most part for the long time, but I think just people like, obviously people are always, I was just talking about it with the chat, that everyone's looking for that get rich quick scheme where they're not really looking for like utility, and everyone just is, it's all about me over we kind of thing. And sadly that's what crypto has become over this last 2 years. Whenever it's just like, who could I dump on next to make the biggest buck, right? And what I've also told in like my Patreon group and all that, that where people ask me for my plays, I was like, you can't be looking for these dump on everyone type plays, because if we're a community as a whole, right? If I tell one of you guys that this is the play that I'm going into, and then you dump on everyone else that is in the same group, you're technically rugging all of us, kind of thing as well. So
this is one of the other subtler things about our token. That's built into our token too. So our token has a very high level of reflections.
mm-hmm.
The reflections
7%, I believe. I remember
7%. Yes. And so what happens is if somebody comes in, if they come in and they pump it and then they dump it, well, there's a 10% total tax, right? So what happens is 7% gets reflected out to all the wallets, and then a small percentage gets added into liquidity, which means that the next pump and dump can't do as much damage to the liquidity pool. And so it's constantly building a more robust liquidity pool, and it's rewarding holders. And one of the biggest wallets is the dead wallet. So it's also deflationary. And it's just every time there's fewer tokens in circulation, every pump, every dump, every transfer, and it just slowly whittles it away. And if you study anything, it's a logarithmic or an exponential, it's gradually all of a sudden. And so that 20% and change that's in the dead wallet, it's not a big deal today, and it won't be a big deal tomorrow, but slowly it gets to be a bigger deal. And eventually it's a huge deal. And all the while the token holders are collecting reflections. And even at very, very minuscule volume by crypto standards, $100,000 or $200,000 a day, many of the bigger holders have enough in reflections that they basically have the equivalent of a decent job in passive income. And if it gets more like 1 million or 2 million a day, which again is not a big deal in crypto, most of the top 100 are doing really, really well, whether the chart goes up or down, as long as there's volume. And so that trading sideways, in some ways it doesn't look exciting from a pump and dump stance, because like, who's going to pump it and who am I going to dump on and all that? Well, it doesn't look exciting for that stance. But if you're just sitting there holding, your bag just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the circulation keeps going down and down. And after a while, that gradually becomes all of a sudden.
That is so true, because like, so I just want to bring up, because it was the biggest reg lately that we talked about already, the Suzuki Inu, where everyone that was supposed to be listed on a whole bunch of exchanges and all, and Saitama is the biggest coin right now where they're supposed to list it on SataMask, right? How is it, like, what could be done differently from you guys? Because I remember reading something that on Token Sniffer, it said it was pretty safe, and then all of a sudden it rugged. Like, how would you guys mitigate that? Or I don't know, it's not even a part of your question, but it's just one of those biggest rugs that's always been on my mind, and I saw that was on your white paper, so I just had to ask that, because a lot of people lost a lot of money on that.
Were you in any of the chats that we were talking about, like the Twitter Spaces or anything like that?
Not recently. I've been so busy lately.
No, that's fine. So the thing is, like, during the initial one, it was revealed that actually that person who will remain nameless, I think we all know who he is, apparently he was a front man. And what I mean by that is not a single other developer was known. That's, and that's, I mean, I don't think I really have to say too much more other than that was probably a bit of an oversight, but I don't think it was an oversight by Saitama. I mean, they have a lot of things going on. They were onboarding, you know what I mean? But essentially that's something that we work on, where where when we talk about fully doxxed, we talk about the full team, right?
Full
We're not
team.
talking about one or two of us. Like, and I know that might sound kind of funny because it's me and Doc here, but I'm here to give simple answers, and Doc's here to give very, very complex answers. But essentially, that could have been avoided if there was a process similar to ours. But again, I'm not trying to come down on anybody about that, but when there's only one single team member that's out in front of people on multiple occasions, that might be a bit of a red flag.
That's what I wanted to hear. Because
Right.
like what I've seen from a lot of coins lately, and everyone that reaches out for these type of interview type stuff, I usually ask who's a part of the team, and the only person that docs is some sort of front man, and I need to know way more than that before I actually sit down with somebody, because obviously by the end of this there'll be a few thousand views on this, and then everyone's like, oh, we know one person on the team, but does he actually have any power on the token, the contract? And I know you guys have like a multi-sig wallet, so is he the guy in charge of that wallet? Or and then
Well, there's
everything could
not.
go, yeah.
We don't have one guy in charge, and that's the safety of it.
Mm-hmm.
The signatures are distributed around the world in multiple countries. The downside is it's really hard to get us all together and lined up in the same time window to do stuff. So people are like, hey, can you send this out to me? And it's like, yep, it's going to be a couple of days. Why not just send it now? Well, because this person's asleep and this person's currently, they're giving birth, and like,
Yeah.
I'm not even making this up. Like we span, I think we span 12 hours of time zones. So we got to like kind of set it up. And so it's a bit of a pain in the ass because it takes a while to do anything. But here's the thing. Even if we wanted to run away with your money, it would take a while to do it. And the other thing is the other members of the team, like you just have to have a couple of us vote no, because it may not be in our best interest. You're going to rug me too? No. Right. And so there's this kind of almost, it's very similar to like a proof of stake consensus model, except it's, it's that it's the consensus model of people rather than, validators or, token holders or whatever. So, there's ways to do this that where the technology can aid and protect, but the technology itself is not sufficient. Otherwise, 99% of major fraud wouldn't be exit scams. Exit scams are about people. And I'll say this, you're talking about frontmen. I'm a professional, I'm a licensed professional. We have other licensed professionals on the team. We have a standard. The standard isn't, did you do it? The standard is, did you know or should you have known? Right? That's a different standard, right? Mm-hmm. Should you have known? There's a normative expectation that we should know better on certain things. And so I mean, even in the white paper, I have a screen cap of somebody else, different token, not Suki Inu. Oh yeah, I was just the idea guy. Well, okay, if you're the idea guy and you hire a developer who rugs people, you still have accountability, right? Yeah, okay, you didn't specifically run away with the money, but you should have known, right? Yep. And I know shoulds are sometimes a dirty word, but we want to bring some level of normative expectation into the space. Not because we're the police, but because let's just not be assholes.
It's true. And one question from here, I'm sure it's been asked to you guys many a times, just for the people that are new to your token. Any copyrights to the Rick and Morty name? But I know you guys are already going to the RMD type. So it's like, what's your thoughts on that? Is there going to be like a legal entity or anything like that? And if you guys could go into that.
Well, our lawyer's not on this call, but I'm sure he would love to be in this circumstance. We just want to be very clear, like the name is RickMortyDoxx. Mm-hmm. It's not Rick and Morty, and mm-hmm. a lot of people don't understand, but that makes a gigantic difference.
Huge difference.
And anything to do with characters or anything like that has been 100% removed from our website.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's any concerns about that, I know Dave's released a lot of literature on it, and that's something that is made readily available for anyone that sees it. I don't think that the literature of it is actually on our website, but it is readily available at any time. And if someone was to DM us or Dave in particular, it would be something that could be shared at a moment's notice. So no.
Perfect. And I don't know if this is directed at you. No, probably not. I'm just reading off the comments and as we're going just to see, but everyone is just pretty much very supportive of your guys' community and token for the most part here.
Nothing negative at all.
Not really. Everyone that's in here is pretty
Good.
happy to see you guys. I'm just trying to find any questions here. No, that's definitely not. Yeah, everything very positive for you guys, which I like to see too. So,
I mean, like I've had a lot of DMs on Twitter lately too, where people that I've never talked to at all send something over and they're like, I really like what you guys are doing. You know, I like the direction it's going. And there's two sides to every coin. There's certain people that are not going to want to do this. They're not going to be part of it, and that's fine. We're not trying to make every single person do anything. We're just trying to provide additional research, which is what the doc touched on many times. That's what we're trying to do. And it's pretty refreshing to have people reach out to us without us saying anything to them to say they support us. So we really appreciate that.
So I know we already talked about the whole Rick and Morty website before, like I talked to you guys about prior to the video, prior to us starting live. Like, I'm so happy that you guys changed the website, because when I first did the first video and I looked over it, I was like, oh man, that is a lot of stuff that I personally would change if they want to be taken like super seriously. So I am happy you guys did that. But the question is, I guess for a lot of people would be like, why did you guys start with it?
So, I mean, I'll take that. So, do you know what a camel is?
Camel, like an animal camel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a horse
I was
that
like,
was dying.
I was like, you're so smart that you're making me feel stupid sometimes.
No, it's a horse that was designed by a committee. So different pieces. It means one of these things. So I think that the previous website was done in less than 1 hour.
Okay.
And bear in mind at the time that there had just been a rug, and there was these other people who we actually suspect may have been the same people. I don't know that to a fact, but that was our concern at the time. We're going to relaunch. And so we felt under the gun. So we did a lot of stuff rapidly. And we spent the last several weeks cleaning it up and bringing it more into spec. And actually, we've been working on the website the whole time. But what we've mainly been doing is working on the back end. So, Haas is, I mean, a couple of people on the team are, full-time developers. And so it's not just going to be a WordPress site with, some crazy graphics. It's also going to have, an entire back end that's more suitable to enterprise. And, so that's been happening all along the way. And then just, kind of this thing with Suzuki Inu and, kind of the need to address this sort of pushed our time frame a little bit forward. We're going to spend the next 2 weeks kind of doing some of this stuff, but it just sort of accelerated the timeline. So it's still a bit of a work in progress, but most of the really heavy lifting is on the back end. You don't see it. And that's in preparation for some solid utility. It's not just a poster on the internet. It's going to be a functional business machine.
So I'm looking at your website as well, even though we talked about design. Will there be a wallet?
A wallet?
Guys, I just see like on the website, it says wallet and then some info there right here on the website. I don't know.
Not as of right now.
I think that's just a reference. I know. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I don't think. I won't comment on that.
I just
further.
wanted to make sure, because I'm sure that will be a question eventually. Be like, oh, I saw that picture there. Is there a wallet coming out with strictly doxed coins and vetted coins out by you guys? And
wallet, no. But I mean, we're open to something like a swap or exchange in the future. But that's, I mean, our main focus is on the utility that we've already talked about. Mm-hmm. Just because that's where the need is. 99% of major fraud is happening in exit scams and rug pulls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
where it's happening. It's not happening in the people who are messaging on Telegram, and fraud accounts for way more than hacks and other things like that. It's the piece where even if we take a 10% bite out of it, it's hundreds of millions of dollars. We take a 50% bite, it's billions. So that's a problem we're solving. That's what we're addressing. We may do some other things in the future. We probably will, but that's kind of our core focus right now, and we're working on that utility.
So that's what I also want to point out to all the viewers here. For all those tokens that you guys do see a lot of influencers talking about, where they have tons of utility coming out, where this token itself, they have one, but they are focusing directly on it. It's not some bullshit NFT game coming out, not some crazy, like random swap that's coming out that's just a different UI of Uniswap or PancakeSwap. You guys really have to know the difference of what you're looking at, because it's not hard to change a UI, guys. It's literally HTML. It's basic coding. So when you're looking at tokens and you're looking for long-term tokens, you have to look at what's actually in play. And like I said, I'm very happy that you guys changed the website, because I've been looking at it since you guys have been asking me, when's that AMA coming out? I'm like, I want that website freaking changed before that happens. And I'm happy that it did. But like, just for all the viewers that consistently watch my videos, you guys really have to pay attention to what is actually down the pipeline. You have to look at these tokens, these coins, like actual business entities, where like if you were to look up stocks and all that, you'd have to
And
look what's there.
I'll say this. I mean, a couple of the people on our team, they're developers for major corporations. And then, Kyle has significant business experience. I've been through launching a startup from like, nothing to something. So, we're not just amateurs, even though I think for most of us, this is our first token. All the other pieces of it we've done before.
That's so true. And one thing I do want to touch on, like, since it's not directed at you guys at all, I'm just trying to talk to the audience too, is that a lot of tokens that do come out, I'm sure you guys know, is that it's not expensive to make a token. So a lot of things could happen. It's easy to rug, and it's very inexpensive to make one, especially on BSC. Ethereum is, I saw like the standard is having like a 1 ETH liquidity could get you started kind of thing. I don't know, is that true to I've never made a token. Is that technically true? Like a 1 ETH liquidity could get it started, and then that's why people only rug for like a few $1,000, like $20,000. Like, why would people rug for such small amounts? Like, thoughts on that or anything like that? Anything?
I'm not sure that. Why would people rug for such small amounts? Well, maybe because they do it several times. I think that would probably be the answer to that. And yeah, I agree with you. It is becoming increasingly more easy for people to launch coins. I mean, how many coins were launched today, for example? That being said, it would be difficult. I think that, again, I'm going to go back to what I said before. We would need the community to reach out to us to tell us what coins to look at for that purpose. I don't want to make light of anything, but if there was a coin out there that had, a 20,000 market cap by the time it pulled, like that would be, it would be terrible for people that lost money, but it would definitely not be anywhere in the realm of what happened yesterday or the day before. Right. But I guess my answer to that would be, why would people do that? If it's cheap enough, they could do enough of them and they'd be able to make money. We have our own thoughts about, not to get too much into it, but we have our own thoughts about the people that are doing the majority of these rugs. In all likelihood, there are a lot of the same people, if you know what I mean, even the large ones. But without saying too much more, that's just some inner thoughts of ours.
Like, you guys really went through all the questions without me even asking them. So I'm very happy this went so smoothly. But I do want to ask, why did you guys approach me for this AMA then? Because I know you guys are not like against influencers, but I know you guys want to crack down on people, so helps me out too.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. It's a great question. So one of our contacts reached out to you, the gentleman, and he said that you were extremely trustworthy. And like, we'll be honest, you're pretty unbiased. So that was a big part of it. And in terms of why we reached out to you or any influencer, we really had to reach out to someone for the overall story. I can't tell you how many times that I've been in a chat or something and people are like, oh, like, what are you guys planning on doing? Oh, this is what we're planning on doing. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. But why would you do that? And then we're like, oh, like, you don't know what happened? Like, it's not a very well-known story. And I think up until this point, a lot of people needed to hear it, whether it's from me or from someone more eloquent like Doc. Like, I think people just needed to hear it. They needed to hear about the whole team and they need to hear the why, because that's kind of something that's lost in tokens these days, is the why. It's more, let's throw out something real flashy, some eye candy, you know, look at, like you said, look at this video game. And that's not what we're about. It's not what we're trying to do. But yeah, that's essentially why I reached out to you. And unless there's anything you want to add to that, though.
I have a 2-year-old crying, so I apologize.
I understand.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, we're not trying to crack down. We're trying to add additional qualitative layer of information so people can do their own research in a way that's more than just flat.
So,
we've all been there with 2-year-olds too, so
yeah.
we know exactly what it is.
Not there yet, but my daughter cries a good amount. But yeah, I am so happy I did this with you guys because, like I said in the beginning of the video, I was very skeptical on doing anything Rick and Morty associated at all, because I heard I wasn't a part of that. I wasn't like invested in the first coin where it rugged, and then I heard about it, and a lot of my friends were, and they were like really pissed about it. And then when they did see me put the first video out without even watching of you guys, they're like, why would you even do that? But I am happy that I did do it, and seeing the utility that's coming out and meeting you guys. So like I just told the chat, like, you guys definitely got a bigger investor in me. Like, right after this video is done, I will post me putting in another full ETH into this and then holding it for the long run.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I know. I mean, like I said before, we're being met with a lot of really, really good positive reviews, which is, you know, there's going to be people that don't like what we're doing. I completely understand that. But just like anything, you know, if you look on a Google review, you're going to see more negative than positive. People are way more likely to post something negative. Like, you know exactly what I mean. If you go to a restaurant and you have a good experience, you're probably not going to post it. But if you have a bad experience, you are 100% going to post it. So I'd like to think, based off the positive reviews and support we've had lately, that we're doing something right, and it's, you know, it's touching a lot of people and they're understanding why we're trying to do what we're trying to do.
And then, well, a lot of reading through the comments really quick. Let's see if anything else is here. Yeah, sounds more like a DeFi blue chip rather than a fly-by-night pump and dump. I totally agree with that. And then,
was that positive or negative?
I think that's a positive. A DeFi blue chip. You got definitely instead of a fly-by-night pump and dump.
Okay, you'd be surprised.
So I do know this is going to be a question later. I'll be DM'd. Are you guys a part of any other projects?
Associated as devs?
Yes.
Nope. I mean, I'm part of many businesses, but nothing like this.
Nothing like this. Okay, because I know I'll be getting a whole bunch of questions like, how come you didn't ask him that when...
Doc has his kid, but I can see he's shaking his head.
What's that?
He just asked if, or sorry, I don't want to speak for you. By all means, ask the question.
I was just asking, are you guys a part of any other projects? Because I know that'll be a question that is asked to me
not
after.
really, although I do hold a significant amount of relevance, but I have got to deal with a 2-year-old.
So, because we have lives to attend to outside of this, because obviously we're all family people here, and we were talking about this beforehand. I do know my wife just got home, so I have to make sure I eat dinner with her, and he has a 2-year-old to attend to. I do appreciate Doc and Kyle coming out to talk with me about their token, about their project, about all the utility. So if you guys got any closing statements, anything you guys want to tell to the audience before we finish up here, now's the time.
Yeah, I'll just say something really quick. Like I know you and I talked about the dinner before, and you got to get to it. So I'll just say that, you know, we're not trying to necessarily push this on people. We're trying to give the option for this additional research. I think that's probably the most important thing. Like I said, we've been met with a little bit of hostility here and there, and I understand why, I really do. But it's something that's going to be an option for people to use, and we just want to make sure that it's out there for people. Also, if anyone has any questions, like we take the answers, or sorry, we take everybody's opinion on face value. So it's just, like I said earlier, we've all been rugged. I don't want to, I don't think anyone wants to feel that again. No one wants to lose their hard-earned money. And I just hope that people understand that's exactly why we're doing what we're doing.
I know Doc is oh man, I know the feel.
So I would just say, read the white paper. It's not everything, but it has a lot in there. Even if you never hold this token, if you're going to be in this space, it's worth reading. Say hi.
Say hi. Oh man, I'm sorry. Oh man, I do appreciate you guys coming out. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to message me, go into their Telegram, check out their Twitter, because they are readily available for everybody there. And hopefully I could do more videos on them, and I'll keep you guys up to date with everything that they're doing, because they are doing a lot of big things. So Kyle, Doc, thank you guys so much for coming out. And to be honest, I hope I talk to you guys soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right. Good night, guys. So guys, that was the end of the video. I really appreciate everyone for watching this. And remember guys, none of this is financial advice. This was strictly an AMA with the docs of a team that I am very behind. I like what they're doing. I do like that they're cracking down on the influencer type of thing, because a lot of people, like I've said in the AMA, a lot of people ask for a lot of money for videos, and they don't really care about their audience. And I really care about you guys that are watching here. And like I said in a lot of comments, where if something gets rugged, where something I actually made a video on, I do take down the video, because I don't want anyone just to lose their money right away. And I am always fully sorry that that happens, but I can't be perfect. And I do think a lot of projects are good at times, but if something rugs later down the line, like there's nothing I could really do about it, because I'm usually a holder of that token and I take the L along with you guys. So guys, if you guys got any value out of this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully I see you guys all soon. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.